Now, if you wanted to solve something, like in other words, it says find all zeros of something like this. Let's say you had x cubed, let's say plus 5x squared minus 6x. I think that's a good one. Equals 0. Okay. Well, the first thing I notice, and what I always try to think right away, is can I factor this? And I always start when I factor with seeing if there's a greatest common factor that I can take out. So I know that right away I can take out an x out of every one of these terms. So I could take out x, and when I factor out an x out of x cubed, that leaves me x squared. Out of 5x squared leaves me 5x, and out of negative 6x leaves me minus 6. Okay. Now I also want to check to see if I could factor this trinomial into binomials, right? So I have this x that I got to bring down as part of my factored form, right? And now I'm going to see if there's two binomials I can get out of x squared plus 5x minus 6. And remember, I'm looking for two numbers that are going to multiply to give me this negative 6, meaning they're going to be opposite signs. And they have to add to give me this positive 5. And so I think right away, and I know that these binomials are going to start with x, right? Because x times x is x squared. So when I'm thinking about factors of negative 6, I think of things like negative 3 and positive 2, or positive 3 and negative 2. I think of 6 and negative 1, or negative 6 and 1. Well, this would work. They would add up to 5 if I had positive 6 and negative 1. And that's how I know that my factors are x plus 6 and x minus 1. Okay? Well, now I'm ready to go because I can use the zero product property and say, okay, well, let's see. If I set this equal to 0, if I set this equal to 0, and if I set this equal to 0, because in other words, if I'm multiplying these things and I get 0, which is what this says, right, then I know that one or all of them would have to equal 0. So what makes them 0? What would be your solutions or your roots or whatever? In this case, they call them the zeros. So I know that one of them I already got, x equals 0. Okay, so that one's already done. This one I just have to subtract 6. And I find out that x equals negative 6. And then with this one, I just have to add 1. And I find out that x equals positive 1. So here are my three solutions, 0, negative 6, and 1. And each one of these, if I were to plug in back to the original equation for x, I would get 0. So those are my solutions. Okay, that's that type of question there.